This is a joint meeting with the Palm Desert City Council successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency and Palm Desert Housing Authority pursuant to Assembly Bill 2449. This meeting may be conducted as a hybrid meeting allowed with public access. Just thought I would fill in some time while we had more folks coming in. Come on in, folks. We're waiting for you to get started. In the meantime, could we have a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Here.
Councilmember Truby.
Here.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Present.
All council is present.
Thank you. And please stand if you are able and follow me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Today, our meeting's inspiration will be delivered by Mayor Pro Tem Jan Harnick.
Thank you. I had pulled a quote from an award-winning journalist, Vermont Royster. But I'll save it for another time because today we had a presentation by our library group. And they talked about what they're doing, and that's in the midst of happening with a lot of civic engagement. A lot of our community members are involved, but I was so impressed with their mission and their vision. And when they shared their vision with us, in fact, Councilmember Kelly said, well, that's inspirational. So she inspired me. So I'm going to read the mission of the Palm Desert Library, which is to nurture community well-being through social, cultural, and learning experience. The vision is a Palm Desert where everyone belongs and is filled with promise, progress, play, and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. Item number 5, awards, presentations, and appointments. Mr. Heilman, would you like to take them in order? Or which would you prefer?
Let's go ahead and take them in order. Be fine.
First, we have an update on Lift to Rise, the 2024-25 action plan.
This fancy.
Good afternoon, Mayor Quintanilla, Mayor Pro Tem Harnick, Councilmember Truby, Councilmember Nastandi, Councilmember Kelly, City Manager, and City staff. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Ian Gabriel. I'm Director of Data Policy and Planning at Lift to Rise, and I'm joined by
Jessica Pollard, Senior Policy Analyst at Lift to Rise.
So we're here to present to you our 2024-2026 action plan, which launched last week, and give you a little bit of information about who we are as an organization, where we've been, the work that we're doing, where we're going, and how the City of Palm Desert can help us get there. So, clicker. So who we are, Lift to Rise, we're a nonprofit organization based here in Palm Desert. Our office is right across the street. So we're neighbors. We've been an organization since 2018, and we exist to reach the North Star of a future where all Coachella Valley families are healthy, stable, and thriving. We bring together a network of cross-sector partners of about 70 different organizations and agencies, all organized around a shared goal of reducing rent burden in the Coachella Valley by 30% through the production of 10,000 units of affordable housing by 2028. So that network of 70 partners is called the Housing Collaborative Action Network, or the Housing CAN. And we just wanted to acknowledge that there are several members of Palm Desert City staff, including Eric Ceja, Nick Maloney, Jessica Gonzalez, who participate in that initiative. And actually, Mayor Quintanilla participated in the action planning process that got us to this plan. So we really appreciate that. Thank you. Just a little bit about where we've been. So prior to 2018, when this group started working on housing affordability in the Coachella Valley, there was an average of about 38 units of affordable housing per year being built across the entire valley. Now we're at about 1,200 units under construction with thousands more on deck in various stages of the development process. So we've seen a very large shift in upward direction. We've also obligated $26 million in loans through our Catalyst Fund, which is an initiative that Jessica will talk a little bit about later. And we've been able to mobilize almost 1,800 community residents across the valley to be civically engaged in support of affordable housing initiatives. So that's where we've been. Where we're going is the action plan. So every 2 years, we convene our partners in the Housing Can to create a 2-year plan for how we'll get to that 10-year goal together. And the plan really defines all of our collective contributions towards that effort. So the action plan this year the goal is by 2026, July 1st, 2026, that we've reached that 7,500 unit mark out of our 10,000 unit goal. And the group has defined that we want to focus and emphasize affordable housing units that have a connection to early care and education or childcare and healthcare as well. So the plan itself, through the work of the group of 70 partners over the course of a 6-month strategic planning process and contributions from all of the partners, we arrived at 6 key strategy areas, which you see here. And then Jessica is going to talk about a little bit more detail about each one and how the city of Palm Desert has already been contributing to some of these efforts.
Thank you. So as Ian mentioned, part of our goal is to identify at least 7,500 new units of affordable housing by July 2026. And we're able to do this through our affordable housing pipeline portal that's on our website. Right now, in Palm Desert, we currently have about over 900 affordable housing units that we're excited to see through. And our affordable housing pipeline portal allows us to spot, track, and frame new developments across the Coachella Valley. Our next strategy is funding, and the goal here is just to address the funding bottleneck that occurs when our developers are trying to secure more funding for these developments. And one of the ways that we do that is with our We Lift Coachella Valley Housing Catalyst Fund. And that's just a revolving loan fund that's meant to spur the production of affordable housing throughout the region. Live to Rise has been able to provide funding and technical assistance to various projects in Palm Desert, including Palm Villas at the Millennium. The Blue companies, we've provided some technical assistance to them. Coachella Valley Housing Coalition with their self-help housing development that's on Merle Street. And then we've got other loan prospects in the city as well. As the state is experiencing a deficit, we're expecting to have some cuts to funding programs at the state level. And that being said, we're trying to grow the fund, the Catalyst Fund, so that we can continue the momentum that we've been seeing in production of affordable housing. Our next strategy is the policy advocacy. And our focus here is just to move the policies forward that reduce the barriers to us reaching our goal of achieving 10,000 units of affordable housing by 2028. And we're able to do this by utilizing our state and federal legislative advocates. And they've been very valuable asset to our region, especially given the budget cuts that were, or the budget proposal and REAP being at risk. We've worked closely with the city of Palm Desert as well to advocate for the REAP funding to proceed or to be funded. And something that Councilmember Kelly mentioned in the CVAG Homelessness Committee meeting last week was that our cities are not scoring well, particularly with TCAC. And we're glad to have our state legislative advocates help advocate for our region in that particular area, or that's one of the ways that we're utilizing them just to make our region more competitive with those funding sources. The next strategy is our infrastructure. Infrastructure is one of the biggest barriers to increasing the supply of affordable housing throughout our region. And that being said, we're working with our local utility companies to come up with ways to fix that. There are many areas throughout the valley that are their developments are being stalled because of the lack of infrastructure. And so with our coalition, we've come up with this strategy to address the production of the affordable housing. Next strategy is our movement building. As stated earlier in the presentation, we've been able to mobilize almost 1,800 residents over the past 2 years. And we've been able to do this through initiatives such as our resident leadership table and our committees by cities, which is just encouraging our residents to advocate for themselves. And as you all, I hope you all have seen our billboards across the valley or the I-10 freeway. This is just to increase our public awareness and our support for us to achieve our goal ultimately of increasing the supply of affordable housing. And then our rapid response during the pandemic in 2020, we were able to launch a rental assistance program that dispersed over $300 million across the valley or across the county, and it kept more than 120,000 residents housed. In Palm Desert specifically, we were able to distribute over $11 million and keep over 1,500 residents housed. And obviously, rapid response is a very important part of our plan, so we're hoping to keep that going.
So that's a lot, and we tried to distill it down. We recognize, we also gave the city clerk our action plan physical copy, and there's a QR code which will take you to the website with all of the specific actions within each of these strategy areas. But one of the things that we wanted to emphasize is, first of all, thanking the city of Palm Desert for already participating in this work, doing a lot of having a lot of success in terms of getting affordable housing units planned, getting a certified housing element, and sending staff consistently to our coalition meetings. So what we're asking you now is to continue working with us on these efforts and endorse this plan and recognize that affordable housing needs to be a priority here in the Coachella Valley. And we hope to continue to work with you over the course of the next 2 years and through our 2028 goal. Thank you very much. And we're happy to take some questions if anyone has them.
Questions, comments?
Thank you. I asked staff to do a rough calculation of the extent to which Palm Desert has subsidized affordable housing. I think that would be really helpful for people to hear. Because it's a number that reflects the commitment of this city to house more of the people who work in Palm Desert here, to reduce their commutes, to improve quality of life, to improve air quality, and to contribute to the vibrancy of our city. So was staff able to come up with that number?
Yes, Ms. Kelly, Veronica Chavez, Director of Finance. The number that you were requesting, pre-dissolution, the city put in about 150 million in assistance in affordable housing. And post-dissolution, we've additionally put in about 30 million to date. We have an additional 10 to 15 million remaining that we will obligate for that purpose. And that's with our limited resources that we have for that.
And I will boldly say that we do better than streamlining. We help developers overcome obstacles. That's affirmative assistance. I'm proud of our city for the work we do in housing, and I hope every resident will share that pride.
Thank you. What was the number that you said, Veronica? You said that was 150 million prior to dissolution, and since then?
We have about 30 million that we've either already dispensed or is promised for projects. And then there's an additional 10 to 15 million that we are going to be allocating.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
my question for you, thanks again for that presentation, and thank you for all of the work that you've done, the ongoing efforts to help people stay in their homes and the stress that a lot of folks may not know what it feels like until you're making the decision between your electric bill and your food or your pet's food. So my question is in regards to where it says policy advocacy. It states a 1% increase in the TOT rate could generate $2 million annually. Is this across the Coachella Valley, in Palm Desert? Where did this magical number come from?
So we ran some numbers based on what we were able to find in different cities for their 2023 TOT rates, and just trying to map out some potential avenues for generating new revenue, additional revenue for affordable housing. And so we did some projections on what it could generate based on the current rate if it was increased by 1% only. So if the number seems off to you, maybe we would love to get some updated data, but that was the idea behind that. So that number reflects Palm Desert, just Palm Desert, yeah.
Perfect. That's what I wanted. Is this valley-wide? Is this a presentation that's going everywhere, or if it's just here? So thank you for answering that.
And we are also doing the same presentation at every single city council across the Coachella Valley. So this is the second one we've done, but we're going to be hitting all 9 cities over the next month.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
All right, thank you for the presentation and all the good work. So you're asking us to endorse your action plan. Very good. And this might be a question more for staff. What is our financial contribution to Lift to Rise annually?
I don't believe we have any direct contributions to Lift to Rise that I'm aware of, but we do help various developers in the valley or in the
Perfect.
city.
Perfect. So just endorse your plan and keep
And
the good work going.
I think one of the things that we're looking at is in all of the different cities across the valley, working with city staff and city council over the next few months to determine some specific actions the city could take, whether that is a financial contribution or some kind of ordinance or some kind of policy action that would actually require a council vote. For now, what we're trying to do is get the word out there, let everyone know what we've been working on and who we are. But the plan is to continue working with all of the cities on actions like you're describing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 5B, presentation from the Palm Springs Air Museum Education Program.
Hello,
Welcome.
how are you? I think hopefully this works and I can make this happen. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. I am happy to speak to you today about our education programs. We, in our 28-year history, have always done a certain level of education with the districts. We've been ramping that up about the last 10 years. The presentation that you're going to see today, we've made across the valley. And what we actually are looking for is some support from the city. And the reason that we are looking for that, and I'll get this out in the front, is we are currently making a $3 million investment on the front of the facility, which is adding 200-seat classroom and additional facilities that are primarily funded by the Allen and the Berger Foundation. We have never spoken to cities about support before. The reason that we're doing that is we're actually asking for support for our programs so that we can reprogram some of our money internally to brick and mortar. So your support for the brick and mortar would trigger prevailing wage. And we can't do that, but we are asking cities to support us in our programs. So far, we have spoken to La Quinta, Rancho Mirage, Indio, Desert Hot Springs, which can't help us at this time because they're dealing with certain things. We are supported also by Cathedral City and by our home city, which is the city of Palm Springs. Oop. Which way do I go back? Can you back me up? Right there. So currently, this last year, we finished with 5,200 children that went through the program just recently. That program is fully funded through grants. The school districts do not pay for any of that. The kids do not pay for any of that. So that includes food, transportation, the curriculum materials. The programs are completely turnkey. These programs are basically entry level, which teaches basic flight, history, and things of that nature. And then we can step the kids up once we get them through those programs. You can see the district breakdowns there. 50% of the kids are below the poverty level that attend the program. But as I said, there is no charge for anything that we do, and we make that completely turnkey, and that will never change. The total universe of children in K through 12 in the Coachella Valley stands at about 97,000. That's from CVEP through the last census. That is not the number of kids that actually are in school. I couldn't tell you, I don't chase after each one of them or the districts, but we service about 5.2% of the kids in the Coachella Valley. And again, we consider ourselves a regional museum because we say we're the Palm Springs Air Museum. We do not service just Palm Springs. We actually draw all the way down into Imperial, and we draw over the hill into Banning, Hemet, Beaumont, into that area there. That's just a breakdown of the kids. You can see that our school age, you can actually see Palm Desert is 12.5% of the children. These are the rankings of the high schools. We get a lot of questions about why do we do education? And the answer is really simple. The districts just don't have time, and with COVID, it's been exacerbated, teaching the sciences and the higher level mathematics. And that's kind of where we come in. What we're trying to do is get kids excited about technical degrees early, because if you don't do that, trying to catch them up in remedial math and science, let's say in junior high school or high school, just doesn't happen. If they aren't caught early in elementary school and then kind of positioned where they have a passion for that, getting them on a remedial basis is extremely difficult. And I'll tell you why I know that in just a minute. The museum, as I said, provides admission to the facility, transportation, lunch. All of our study guides are developed by accredited educators like Priscilla Porter at Cal State. San Bernardino is one of our contributors. We also have the lead for Lockheed Skunk Works, who's a retired engineer who did all of their programs, that is helping us with our higher level study guides. And we try to do that only because we want to make sure that we meet the minimum accreditation requirements for the state of California. The museum offers STEM courses, as I said, humanities, science, geometry, flight training, which we actually offer hands-on flight training, scholarships to higher education. We do 2 scholarships each year, which are 4-year scholarships to 4-year universities that we pay $10,000 a year per scholarship. And those, we have kids at Emory-Riddle, UCLA, and various universities. The National Science Foundation actually coined the word STEM, and I'm not going to bore you with this. STEM has become a catch-all for just about everything. But the reality is, in our area, it's engineering, mathematics, and the science and technology. I'm going to move through this because this doesn't really cover much other than talks about STEM. But one of the challenges that we have is can kids, one of the things we run through some of the classes through is how to make a metal box with rivets. And not very many kids can do that coming out of the gate. Why do we make them make a metal box with rivets? Well, they have to measure it. They have to figure out how to cut it. They have to figure out how to drive the rivets through the box, and they have to make it actually look like a box. A lot of times, the first time it doesn't look like a box, but the idea is basic skills, all those mathematics skills and just those basic learning skills are taught in just that kind of a simple activity. This is our expansion. On the left side is the classroom. We're redoing our entrance, but on the left side will be the Ronald M. Allen Learning Center, which will be our new classroom. That will increase our classroom size by 200%. We are extremely limited right now that we don't have enough classroom size. You can see the overall layout there. The classroom is on the right. That will be state of the art. There's an interior view. Look at all those happy children. The expansion cost is roughly $3.5 million. Berger Foundation contributed $1.5 million to the project. We've actually raised more than that now. When this presentation was done, we've raised about $2.5 million, and Berger Foundation offered to do a credit line, and the museum typically builds for cash, and we don't like debt, and we will not have debt on this project by the time we're finished. The other programs that we offer, and why I was going to tell you about how we find out about remedial challenges, is we offer a thing called First Flight for 50 kids a year who go through that program. That program actually, it's for older children that are less just in high school and headed out to seniors. They actually get 2.5 hours in a simulator. They get what's called the Pelican test, which is a qualifying test on mathematics, science, and geometry, because you have to have that in order to fly. You have to be able to figure out all those important flying things. And then they get a flight in the aircraft in our Cessna 182. We will provide scholarships for additional training beyond that. And we have a school at Thermal that can carry them all the way to what's called a 141 certificate, which is the step to get their pilot's license. And if they get their pilot's license and they go commercial, entry level in those jobs is about $100,000 to $125,000 a year. In the engineering side, if they go towards an aircraft and power plant mechanic, those are also in woefully short supply right now. And those entry level positions are six figures. So having the kids go through these programs are critical because, you know, you talk about the old proverb, if you give a man a fish or feed him the fish, you feed him one time. If you teach him how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. I'm paraphrasing there, but that is what the basis of these programs are. So to sum up, we have our entry-level programs. We have mid-range, which are the career internship programs. We have scholarships, and we have First Flight. And then we also have an advanced propulsion hangar that's under development with Lockheed Martin, which will be finished after our next classroom, and that will be a feeder program for Caltech. So we'll see that in about 2 years. We're in the process of getting that on Palm Springs master plan, but we actually have done that for their airport expansion. And we just simply don't have the development capacity to do chew gum and build another hangar at the same time. So we're doing kind of in a linear fashion. But what we'd ask today is we did send a letter over. We would ask for your support. Rancho Mirage supported our programs at $150,000. La Quinta, this is a 1-year contribution. We will not be coming back. By the way, this is a one-time ask that's tied to our push to get the Allen Center done. La Quinta supported us at $150,000. India supported us at $75,000. So that just gives you kind of a range of where people are at. And that concludes my presentation, and I am open to questions or chair throwing or anything else you'd like to do.
Questions, comments?
I just thank you. I was not familiar with your educational programs. Maybe you should cover the riveting lesson with Boeing.
We could do that. I don't know about doing anything with Boeing, but I could. We work with Lockheed, which is the Skunk Works, but maybe we'll get Boeing out here. But I will say this. Part of the challenge that we're having with the American industrial base, not just Boeing, but shipbuilding, all the way down to you getting an electrician or a carpenter, is we do not teach basic technical skills. It's a lost art. And it's frustrating. But we have to get these kids focused on there's nothing wrong with being a carpenter or an electrician or a plumber, and you can make a very good living at it right now. And that goes all the way up into fixing airplanes. And we have lost our ability to teach that, or I wouldn't say lost it, but it's highly diminished, and it's impacting everything from the amount of ships we can build to the number of airplanes. The reason Boeing is having so many challenges is they're having to do this rudimentary training for their workforce coming in, and they never had to do that before. It's a big, big challenge. And I was just reading a report about that it's impacting all of the aircraft manufacturers, and it's not going away. It's going to be with us for as long as I could see, 20 years. It's until we change how we're feeding these vocational schools, it's not going to change. We're just not putting out enough kids. That's the challenge.
Was there a follow-up? I absolutely concur that there has been such a huge deficit in the ability to have students think just beyond degree-based programs and not certificate programs, which are just as valuable. In regards to the students that participate through these programs, are they students that come to you? Are they students that have come from their interest in those education programs as elementary school students? How do you get the students at that target of high school to get the hands-on towards that ultimate goal?
The high school kids primarily come through the academies, or they come from our feeder programs. We have one student as an example that's at UCLA that's building the aeroshells for rockets, which you wouldn't think UCLA is a big rocket school, but they have a very big rocket program there, and she's very proud of it. And she came out of down around thermal. She went through our elementary school program. She still has the book she bought in our library that has chocolate all over it and everything. And when she's a scholarship, she received one of our scholarships, and she brought that book back. So a lot of the kids start and then they kind of migrate through the program. There is one academy still out here at Shadow Hills, over Morehouse over at Shadow Hills, that still feeds us kids through like shop programs. And we're encouraging that more. What we're not encouraging though is like drone racing, and we just don't think that delivers stuff. But if we have kids that are interested in technical skills, we'll find a way to place them, whether it's an internship or in our shop, our rework facilities. We can make anything for those airplanes. We may not fly it. You know, some of the aircraft we're flying are almost 100 years old now, if you can believe that. From 80th anniversary of World War II is looming. So you can imagine some of those aircraft, if they're pre-war, are 82 years old. We can make any of that stuff. So from a kid's point of view, we can teach them to make just about everything in the shop. We may not fly it on the airplane because there are FAA requirements, but we can teach them to make just about anything. It's a long-winded answer to your question, but they feed through our programs, and then hopefully they go on and they find a spot in the industry.
Not long-winded at all. It's important for everyone to know the resources that we have in the valley, why cities support this, and as we talk about ensuring that our graduates have the access to high-paying jobs, this is what we're talking about. Now, you mentioned that the expansion cost is 3.5 million, and it seems that you've raised the majority of what you were looking for, in fact, a little over. And how much does your annual gala raise? Does that just cover the operating costs, or does it leave anything that could be applied?
We basically target programs with the gala each year. So it might be like capital or programs. Typically, most of our net, we raise about $1 million a year that goes back into the education programs that backfills any grant holes that we might have. We also put that into the facility because we have facility needs, but this next year, as an example, we'll probably continue to chase debt retirement on this project and then getting started on the next one, which will have a 5,000-foot classroom in it, which is that propulsion hangar. So we feed into those programs. Overall, our programs burn about $900,000 a year, the education programs. We're trying to get the cities to help us in the $400,000-$500,000 range total, because not every city can do it and do that kind of heavy lift, and we recognize that. As I said, this is a one-time ask. We will not be back. We're trying to take some of the oh, I get that look. No, I've said that every time, so it's in the record. We don't like doing this, but we're really pushing hard to get this program going. This classroom was first discussed in October of 2018. So it's been in the pipe a while, and COVID delayed it. We had that thing called the Stealth Fighter that we built, and then which was delayed, and then we took on this classroom, and we just started. We had the groundbreaking a couple of days ago. So
Sorry that I missed that one. Any other questions?
If I may, Mr. Bell,
yes,
thank you for all you're doing with it, because it is a brilliant asset to our entire region. And so many of our students benefit, and every visitor who takes the time to go over there. There is so much great history, so much is so compelling. And if there's anyone here who hasn't taken the time, hasn't had the time to go tour that museum, it is well worth every moment.
Well,
So
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate your time, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
Item 5C, proclamation of National Public Works Week. If I can have all of our incredible Public Works team start making your way on over here and start remembering we can get layers up here so we can get everyone in one picture. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital importance to sustainable, resilient communities, public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people that live, work, and visit the beautiful city of Palm Desert. And whereas these services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees in government and the private sector, responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other essential structures and facilities. And whereas public works professionals toil behind the scene and maintain the quality of services in the city of Palm Desert, relentlessly serving all hours of the day, including extreme weather, to preserve our infrastructure and carrying out the work plans set forth to materialize our vision for the future, such as active transportation plans. And whereas the public works professionals in the city of Palm Desert accomplished an epic feat of protecting our residents, businesses, and critical infrastructure during Tropical Storm Hilary, proclaimed a local emergency on the 20th of August of 2023, taking quick action to utilize all resources available, using social media to give updates that gave drivers alternative routes, sparing them from the dangers of fallen trees, flooded roads, and more. And whereas it is in the public interest of the community in the city of Palm Desert to solidify our respect for public works professionals and public works programs, celebrating their courage, bravery, and resilience during Tropical Storm Hillary, memorializing their valor with the Community Heroes mural by Trinity Rivard on the 16th of May. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association. Now therefore, I, Karina Quintanilla, Mayor of the City of Palm Desert, along with the entire City Council, do hereby celebrate our entire Public Works Division and designate the week of May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Thank you. He's got more. Absolutely.
On behalf of our Public Works team, our Capital Programs team, Jess Culpepper, our director, I just want to thank this team again for the incredible work that they do year in and year out, day to day. They're probably the most dedicated, talented, hardworking team, and we're really proud to have them in our city. So I can't say enough about this team. They're the people that make our city function. They make our city beautiful. They keep our city safe. And basically they advance they advance quality of life for the entire city, for our residents, visitors, and for all us that work here as well. So again, I want to thank them from the bottom of our heart. So thank you. Our city council is also part of our team. And so as a token of our appreciation, we've made these hats for the entire team. I'm going to leave these with the city clerk. And in the logo, it says Advancing Quality of Life for All, and it commemorates our Public Works Week. So thank you.
We celebrate their work and their efforts every day. Today, we just do it with the proclamation. We proceed to item number 6, city manager comments.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Item number 7, mayor and council member reports and requests for action. Let's start on this side with council member Truby.
Great. Well, last week I was able to attend a conference hosted by JPIA, which is the Joint Powers Insurance Authority that provides insurance for our city. It was great, very educational. And I definitely came back with a lot of questions for Todd about procedures and protocols that we may or may not be implementing. So it was excellent and worthwhile in that way. However, of equal, I think the worth to me is that there were about 30 elected officials there attending the conference. And, time spent with them was a really, really good reminder of how great our city is. That, so many of them, complained about finances and shortfalls on budgets and the uncivility of their city council, which we certainly don't have here. I'm very, very proud of our city. I'm proud of how we operate. I'm proud of our staff and how we do things. So it was a really, really good reminder not to take what we have in this beautiful city for granted and to certainly protect it and nurture it going forward. So that's my report.
This and council member Kelly.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
No report this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. On the heels of the celebration of our Public Works Department, I encourage everyone to go on Avenue 42, or do we call it 42nd Avenue? Avenue 42 off of Cook, and go look at the mural that was painted celebrating everything they've done, the Community Heroes mural. It's outstanding. It's worth the drive down there just to see it. And additionally, another educational entity that provides abundant education to our entire valley is the McCallum Aesthetic Education. They have last year provided workshops for students, teachers, and instructors for 36,000 students, teachers, and instructors. And they are introducing so many of our students who may not otherwise go into a theater or may not have that experience of plays and music and dance. And they've done a great job, and they really add a lot to our valley. So it's always a good idea to support these entities that are supporting our valley. Thank you.
I will gladly use up the time that my peers have given, as there's been a very, very busy time. As the home of higher education, we've got all of these institutions here, so we must all recognize the hard work that all of our students have taken the endeavor to complete, whether it be high school, an associate's degree, certificate program, master's, doctoral, whichever, at all levels of education. We celebrate their accomplishments, their educators, and their families as well. May is Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Native Hawaiian Heritage Month. And we will, here at the YMCA, the Family YMCA in Palm Desert, on Sunday, June 2nd, from 10 to 2, there will be an Independence Day celebration. The official celebration is June 12th, and this year will be 126 years since they celebrated their independence. This is a free event. There'll be food and there'll be vendors, but we hope that you'll have the opportunity to go. A special appreciation to Pastor Rick Saldivar. Some of you may know him. He had reached out and had been working with some of the wonderful and compassionate individuals in our code department to identify a senior with high need. And through the collaboration with Dantor Construction, Padron Construction, Frank and Ann Durazo, Lino and Susie Garcia, the Arroyo family with Fix-It Auto, and our own Paul Villanueva, we participated through the Chance Initiative Community Day last Sunday. And I say we because I was there and I was sore for a few days. But we helped a person who would not have been able to get caught up on the needs of her property or doing so safely. This individual had gone who knows how long without AC. This is the value of when neighbors know the needs of one another, how to refer them for services. And I'm very proud that Palm Desert was a part of that, and that we did that from within. Mayor Harnick and I had an opportunity to meet with a CEOD's interim president, Hope, and we discussed the intercampus shuttle that will help students take additional courses and graduate in a timely fashion, discuss completion and transfer rates, and the ongoing discussion where COD may be able to grant bachelor's degrees. Again, we're looking at how to streamline accessibility to education. This month, we also held the Palm Desert Area Chamber of Commerce Business Breakfast at Desert Willow, and this was the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Administration. Mr. Aguiar had great engagement with the folks that were there. There were a lot of awes and gasps to find out some of the basic things that people were doing wrong that they weren't aware. 75% of cyber attacks are targeting small businesses. The City of Palm Desert, as a business-friendly city that supports our business community, this is the kind of service that we're happy to provide, and I'm very honored to have made that connection. CISA also has the link where you can request an audit of your site. Essentially, they'll go in, they'll let you know what they see is doing good, what you need to strengthen to protect yourself. And they've also offered to come back to expand on that presentation with tabletop exercises. And they said they'll gladly come for Palm Desert staff as well as other businesses to ensure their data is secure. And they also have bilingual representatives, so I'm working to get them connected to the Cámara de Comercio Hispana. We also, CDEG Public Safety. This was a very important session because we had the Riverside County Emergency Management System talk about the earthquakes. We keep hearing one day it's going to be here, but this was updated models of early alert systems because we know of our proximity to the San Andreas Fault. We are susceptible to magnitude 8.0 or higher. This was eye-opening to me on the, we're still coming down off of Hillary. Just like it'll take us a long time to recover from COVID, there are things that we'll still be recovering from Hillary. And it highlighted how in a moment of crisis, people look to the city to find solutions. In a neighboring city, that was a challenge where the municipality said, we are responsible for the streets. There's only so much we can do to help you as individuals. So my request would be that we collaborate on expanding the city's liaison services to having CERT available. We had the HOA meeting, which was very well attended. So if those HOAs can be targeted and ask them when we can hold them, I know that the sheriff's community service officer, Austin, she knows different neighborhood watch communities that may not be within an HOA. So this is an opportunity to empower our residents to have that network until they're able to get services. Who knows how long it'll take us? We don't know what access there will be to communications. So this is a way to help put tools that would be life-saving in the hands of individuals. But wait, there's more. The Rite of Silence in Palm Springs, it's a national event that was held on Wednesday, the 15th, to honor and remember cyclists that were killed or seriously injured by vehicle collisions. It's a reminder that if you give a bike as a gift, give the helmet too, or you're giving an incomplete gift and a very unsafe gift. I had to miss the Air Museum presentation because I was at the press conference for the Desert Arc Foundation. They received a grant from the Desert Healthcare District, giving them new AED devices. And these next generation defibrillators are amazing. So if you are responsible for purchasing one for your building or know that it needs to be updated, this one is a smart device where you can not do it wrong. They're not paddles the way that we're used to seeing on television. These are like stickers that you put on there. And if it detects a pulse, it will not send a charge. For every 1 minute that someone is laying without a pulse, it reduces the chances of a positive outcome by 10%. Please take a look if that's something that that you are, if it's in your scope of work. And in particular, this was something issued to the Desert Arc Foundation because clients with the disabilities that they serve are often more prone to cardiac issues or limited ability to discuss or describe the symptoms. And this is the largest entity to have access to AEDs outside of first responder vehicles. It's very great to have that in the community. The unveiling of the Children's Discovery Museum, it's absolutely amazing. I encourage everyone to go. And in their courtyard where they have the crayons with the big donors, you'll see Palm Desert with the sunflower yellow color. And a challenging one, some of you have reached out, some of you have been watching the concerns with the Coachella Valley Animal Campus. I had a meeting with Supervisor Perez this morning and discussed some of the potential solutions, the challenges identified to work forward to a new work plan. And one request for action would be an update that I know it was part of the public comments and things that came up with Ice Cream with the Mayor. Any future plans to put up more mulch in areas or to mitigate sand? And we were also told that I think Cotino and Rancho Mirage were looking at it because they were getting the stink eye from people that know now there is a solution for sand.
We'll put something in the weekly update.
Thank you, much appreciated. We now move on to item 8, non-agenda public comments. First up in public comment, Miss Barbara Wasserkrug.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Barbara Wasserkrug, and I'm a Palm Desert resident. At the last City Council meeting, I mentioned a most important topic. That is, what type of healthcare are we receiving here in Palm Desert, the Coachella Valley, and beyond? The correct name for this is called Artificial Intelligence Precision Healthcare. Digital technology and artificial intelligence are at the forefront. This integrates various technologies such as biodigital convergence, 24/7 remote wireless health monitoring under your skin, the Department of Energy Genome and Pathogen Database, wireless on-demand drug delivery, and 3D organ printing, to mention a few. If these terms are unfamiliar to you, I would like to invite members of the City Council, city employees, people watching on Zoom today, and all residents of Palm Desert, friends and neighbors, to learn more about this at my presentation titled Artificial Intelligence Precision Healthcare to Transhumanism to Posthumanism, to find out the truth of what is really going on in our healthcare system today. I am a concerned citizen that is not affiliated with any organization or political group. The date for my free presentation is next Friday, May 31st at 5:30 p.m. The place is Desert Cities Baptist Church, located at 45825 Tierra del Oro in Palm Desert. If you need more information, I have my contact information on my flyers, which I have with me today. Please feel free to pick them on up. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Domitilia Clemente.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Domitila Clemente y trabajo en todo el Valle de Coachella. He visto muchas familias como ellos ocupan un hogar donde ellos pueden vivir sanamente, ¿verdad? Porque ellos tienen muchas familias, en una hogar hay como 5 familias porque no hay viviendas disponibles para que ellos puedan estar. Yo trabajo todo el valle, trabajo en Coachella, aquí en Palm Desert, Indio, Terman, North Shore, y he visto la necesidad de viviendas. Es por eso que estamos aquí en esta tarde. Yo vengo una vez, solo quiero informarle y hacer la petición que apoyen esta institución, Consejo Municipal, respaldar el plan de acción de RIP to Rest, nuestro plan de acción de acción. Es por eso que estamos aquí en esta tarde, porque miramos la necesidad de viviendas. Eso no es sano cuando yo miro una familia que en un cuarto viven niñas y niños en mismo cuarto, ya grandes. Ese no es saludable. Queremos viviendas en todo el valle para que la gente pueda vivir sanamente. Yo trabajo aquí en Palm Desert, vivo en Terman, porque no tengo más cerquitas aquí en Palm Desert, no hay disponibles los hogares, las viviendas donde yo puedo vivir. Me dura 1 hora, 2, a veces hasta 2 horas, cuando es tiempo de festivos, que hay mucho tráfico. Entonces queremos más viviendas en todo el valle, no nomás aquí en Palm Desert, en todo el valle. Hay tanta necesidad de viviendas. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. Esperanza Sotelo.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Esperanza Sotelo. Estamos aquí por la presentación de Live to Ride. Igualmente, como la compañera Domitila Clemente, yo trabajo todo el Valle de Coachella, pero vengo a trabajar aquí por la Cook en Palm Desert. Hacemos hasta 40 minutos para estar aquí. En 1990 yo llegué a este país, pude comprar mi casa cuando ganábamos $4 la hora, pero había viviendas accesibles. a como nosotros ganábamos. Hoy tengo hijas universitarias que ganan 10 veces lo que yo gano, lo que yo ganaba entonces, y no pueden comprarse una casa porque no hay viviendas accesibles y el costo de viviendas está muy caro. Nuestra petición hoy para ustedes nada más es que apoyen este presupuesto que presentó Live to Right, porque hoy fue un presupuesto, pero mañana puede ser un sueño de muchos residentes del Valle de Coachella. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Vanessa with Lift to Rise.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Serrano, and I work here in Palm Desert with El Sol Neighborhood Educational Centers. But I'm here to support Live to Rise. I'm currently a resident in Thermal, and I personally wanted to share what I see because I also work here in Palm Desert, Coachella Valley, Thermal, Mecca, all those areas, and I do witness that there's a lot of families, especially that they live in the apartments for a very long time and they've been struggling with rent payments. They started off paying like with 600 and now it's like 1,000 or more. And that's why I'm here to support Live to Rise with their action plan that aims to reduce rent and produce 10,000 affordable housing units by 2028. And it targets to at least 7,500 affordable housings. And I want to restate that these affordable housings will, benefit the Coachella Valley residents and also Palm Desert. And that's what I urge the City Council to endorse the Live to Rise action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Green.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. I attended the previous City Council meeting last time to hear the outcome of the Lupine project. What I wasn't prepared to hear is that Palm Desert was the only city that did not sponsor a table at the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast. I attended the breakfast, which was incredibly moving, along with the other 1,200 people. I was pleased to hear that next year, and hopefully every year, Palm Desert will be a proud leader and stand with all in the Coachella Valley. With that said, I want to address two other situations I've observed. One, after witnessing the verbal assault on Mayor Quintanilla, I was shocked, horrified, and embarrassed that our City Council representative, Jan Harnick, was allowed to speak in such a despicable, unprofessional, and racist tone. As a voter, the Palm Desert way that she referred to is not how I view Palm Desert as a resident. We should embrace diversity, not stifle it. Two, after hearing the man address the issue, I was embarrassed that no one else spoke about this incident, including myself. As a former public educator, that was one thing I really instilled in my students was that when you saw something wrong, stand up for it. I wrestled with this and decided I could not teach these kids if I didn't practice what I was teaching. After talking to several Palm Desert residents who agreed that the display put forth in a public meeting was embarrassing, not only to me, but also to others who may assume that I am supportive of that unethical dressing down of the mayor. If this is how City Council members speak to others in public, it makes me wonder what is said in private. I believe Jan Harnick and Evan Truby owe Mayor Quintanilla a public apology, as well as one to the voters and residents of Palm Desert. My hope is that this will encourage others to stand up when witnessing an injustice. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz Bauer.
Hello, good afternoon. So my name is Liz Bauer. I'm here with regards to what used to be called, I'm told it used to be called the Refuge Project, which is the housing development off of Gerald Ford behind the police station. Sorry. At any rate, I and my neighbor and several others who are on Zoom are here because we knew this development was going to be happening. However, what we didn't know was that we now the people who back that sand area have lost everything. They're building a mountain. They're making a mountain. The reason we live here is because we like the open land, we like the skyline, we like all those things. And I loved, you know, even last Saturday, I could stand in my kitchen and I could see the beautiful mountains. And I knew that was going to go away with this development, but now there's a mountain on my wall, literally 30 feet, I measured, right behind my house. And there's going to be a house on that. I'm from LA. I left because I'm tired of people living on top of me. I don't want to walk out to my backyard, look at my brick wall, and then look at another brick wall. I left that urban jungle feeling. I don't want to feel enclosed. I liked that open air feeling. And now they're building this mountain. It's a mountain and it's going to have a house on it. I mean, I kind of lose privacy as well. I just feel it's not fair to me and my neighbors. I mean, it's reasonable to build houses, of course. Pave everything at some point, right? But to keep it level, like everything else in this town is kind of level. So you keep your skyline. Not only that, you know, I worked really hard to buy this house. I'm a single mom, 2 kids. And now I'm putting a pool, and I was on the fence between, should I put it in the front and build a courtyard, or should I put it in the back? I have a tiny yard. From my house to my wall, it's 18 feet. So it's not like I have some big backyard. And then a mountain, you know, it's next to nothing. And so I chose to build it in the backyard, and I chose to have it slightly elevated so I could have my skyline, which is literally taken away right now. So kind of hoping we can come to a solution, somehow make it level and not build a mountain behind all of our houses. That's why I'm here. That's really it. Thanks.
Thank you. Jana Korczynski.
I live in that same development, and I represent the residents of that street, which adjoins the refuge, now Del Webb project to the south of Gerald Ford Drive. I'm retired. In the past, I have been on the Palm Desert Arts Commission and various Envision Palm Desert committees. Over 20 years ago, along with Liz Lindstrom, I led the Kaufman and Broad development in their fight with Marriott over the sand and particulate matter coming from Shadow Ridge. Some of us are now living with the health consequences. Many in the development find the grading done behind our neighborhood to be unacceptable. We believe our walls may be compromised by the trench dug right behind us, and that our homes may be flooded the next time we experience an atmospheric river like Hillary. One of our residents met with the city planner on Wednesday and was told that the elevation behind us was indeed going to be 11 feet higher than the existing elevation. Do you have any idea what that is going to be like? Right now, they are virtually building a mountain behind us. What was done behind us this past week is significantly different from the refuge walkway rendering that I sent last evening. And I didn't give you any notice because they just started doing this on Monday, and now Wednesday they have a mountain back there. I invite each of you to come to my house and see what is being done for yourself. What was once a beautiful view will have houses sitting on 11-foot high hill above us. Our neighbor was told that there are going to be 2-story homes in the mix, which was not approved. Another neighbor who did attend this past Tuesday's meeting, because he was concerned about the grading being done already and its impact on drainage into our development, told us he asked for the elevation and grading plans to be sent to him, and he has not received them as of this morning. His profession deals with water and proper drainage. He has requested to speak online. Last week, when we received the letter informing us of a public hearing, a few of us went to the refuge website where there was a small statement about changes involving curving the corner homes and landscaping, and a small reduction in the number of homes. Those changes were fine with us. Therefore, we did not find it important to attend the meeting. This morning, a neighbor gave me a letter they received from Pulte Group. The letter did not identify.
My apologies that your 3 minutes are up, but I did take notes and I do have your telephone number. Mr.
Can I
Brett,
just make one more statement?
I cut everybody off at 3 minutes.
Okay.
I appreciate you. Brad Anderson, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Rancho Mirage. I want to talk about 3 items and Lift to Rise. I'll track them down to another city. I have some stories to tell. But anyway, I'm going to, the order of importance, I believe, is the first one is the Animal Shelter Campus, or actually all Riverside Animal campuses are having a free adoption event this Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. in the evening. And all adoptions will be free. And if the county abducted one of your pets for ransom, all those fees will be waived. So it's a perfect opportunity to adopt. And like I said, it's from 10 in the morning to 10 p.m. And there will be no cost except for licenses, I'm sure. So something to consider. The second one is the Coachella Valley Energy Commission, which is a commission sponsored and really constructed through IID. And the Cove communities have a representative, that's Indian Wells, Palm Desert, and Rancho Mirage on that commission. But right now, it's an employee from the city of Palm Desert. And that's a very critical commission right now. The last workshop, they actually constructed Assembly Bill. And I really feel that there should be an elected position, somebody that's going to be around for a while. That should be appointed to that versus an employee that actually missed that last workshop because he was working here. So it's really critical for the valley to have somebody accountable. And lastly, the last 2 city council meetings, there was action items concerning a street vacation up by the Shadow Mountains Resort. And I've retained information that's really concerning to me, and that's concerning Miss Kelly and her involvement in that, as she quoted like $350,000, $400,000 for this piece of property. Now that's just a made up number. It has nothing to do, but I think it swayed a lot of the city council people, and the person that was asking for that vacation, that street vacation, actually had roots in this valley from when that house was constructed. So it's not critical, but it's important to notice that because I believe at the last meeting, Ms. Kelly actually talked to one of the witnesses and they left under the assumption that it wouldn't be that the deal was done or the decision was made. And that's concerning because that's not witness tampering, but it's critical that people get heard. And I would hate to think
Thank
that
you,
maybe.
Mr. Anderson, your 3 minutes are up just like everybody else.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
appreciate you. Nope, thank you. Your
Thank you very
time is
much.
up. Dominic Moonhart.
All right. Hello, Palm Desert City Council. To Councilmember Kelly, I know you serve on the Sun Line. I took the ride share service today. It was actually nice and clean. One thing that I would suggest as a temporary solution is to expand the Palm Desert Geofence to Acrisure Arena for the Firebird games. They're in the Western Conference Finals now, again. And so, so let's expand the service and the hours for Acrisure Arena for the workers and for the Firebird fans, because there's nothing that goes out there other than Uber and taxi services. And sometimes they jack the prices up because the arena's in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so next, districts. So 2 of the council members live in District 4, the new District 4. And so And two of you guys live in District 2. Now, I'm going to address District 4 and I'm going to address Councilmember Nastandy for a second. So I don't know why you would move from District 4 to District 3. One, that's just idiotic to do, let alone what, it just doesn't make
Please
sense.
maintain respect.
Sorry.
That is not appropriate.
Sorry. So, I apologize. So, yep, just proud of the districts. It's a long way coming. And so next, I just wanted to address, I don't know why the city wouldn't allow Mayor Quintanilla to go to the Latino conference. Like, as a Latino, that just makes me angry. That you would have someone else take her place in a conference that's not even Latino. I don't understand that. Why, for the Latino people who live in Palm Desert, that's just borderline racist and disrespectful to the mayor. Very disrespectful and rude. Okay. Now, I may have been a little rude. Okay. I own it. I own it. Okay. I'm gonna own it. Okay. But you guys have not sent an apology to her over the Latino conference. That's just, it's racist. That's all I could say. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Final speaker, Stephen Nelson.
Madam Mayor, just so the people on Zoom know, there will be a couple more on
Oh,
Zoom.
perfect.
Yeah.
Last in-person speaker. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem. I come to you today in advance of June.
Excuse me, the timer hasn't been started.
Okay. I come to you to speak to you on May 15th, I believe that's the date, mid-May, in anticipation of June 1st. June 1st is Pride Month. It's currently celebrated every year in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan. The Stonewall Uprising was a tipping point for the gay liberation movement in the United States. And in the United States, the last Sunday in June was initially celebrated as Gay Pride Day. But the actual day was flexible. In that month, celebrations include pride parades, picnics, and other celebratory activities. So, like I did last year, as I opined with then Mayor Kelly, I opined to Mayor Quintanilla and Mayor Pro Tem Harnett. What are our plans for this year, this June 2024 in Palm Desert? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hellman, can we follow up on that topic? How many do we, now we have comments online, is that correct?
Correct. We have 2 public comments online. And for those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. And if you're calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. And when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. And the first will be Eric Livingstone.
Hi. Good evening, members of City Council. My name is Eric Livingstone. I'm a nurse of 20 years at Eisenhower Medical Center, and I'm also a resident of Palm Desert on Woodward Drive. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today regarding a pressing issue that deeply affects my family, my neighbors, and our community at large. Recently, a new housing development named the Refuge Development by Del Webb has commenced grading the ground behind our homes. As part of this process, in the past 3 days, they have constructed a hill that rises 11 to 12 feet high behind the back wall of our house, which potentially, if at its final height, will also have a 6-foot wall and possibly a 2-story house overlooking our property, which would be upwards of 35 feet above us looking down in our backyard, directly obstructing our views of the beautiful mountains and expansive sky that we cherish. Significant alteration to our environment was never discussed with us, the residents, prior to the commencement of this project. Firstly, I want to highlight the impact this hill has on our quality of life. Palm Desert is renowned for its stunning natural vistas. These views are not just aesthetically pleasing, but also contribute to our mental and emotional well-being. The loss of these views due to the artificial hill detracts from the peaceful scenic environment that we have chose when we decided to live here. For many of us, the beauty of our surroundings was the significant factor in choosing our homes. The sudden obstruction by this development feels like a betrayal of the community's trust. Moreover, this hill poses potential safety and environmental concerns. The elevated ground could increase the risk of soil erosion, especially during heavy rains like we've seen in Palm Springs recently, potentially leading to flooding or landslides that could damage our properties. The change in the landscape might also affect local wildlife and plant species that are integral to our local ecosystem. I urge the council to consider the long-term ramifications of allowing such a drastic alteration without proper consultation and planning with the public. The developers should have engaged in good faith with us, the residents, to discuss their plans and consider our feedback. We understand the need for new housing, but it should not come at the expense of the community's well-being and the natural beauty of our environment. I request the city council to halt the development immediately until a thorough review can be conducted. This review should involve environmental impact assessments and direct consultations with the affected residents to ensure that our concerns are adequately addressed. There may be an alternative solution that will allow development without compromising our quality of life, such as redesigning the grading plan that mitigates the visual impact of this hill. In conclusion, I ask the council to stand with us in preserving the character and beauty of Palm Desert. Let's work together to find a solution that balances the needs of this new development.
Thank you very
With the
much. Your
rights and
3
well-being of our
minutes
current
are up.
residents.
I greatly appreciate you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Eglert Gutierrez.
Hi, good afternoon, council. My wife, Maria Torres, she will speak.
Hello, my name is Maria Torres. I live at 73530 Woodward Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, my husband, Egler Gutierrez, and our neighbors. We're concerned with the project directly behind us, which is the Del Webb Explorer community. According to renderings from prior refuge meetings, we were going to have a bunch of landscape and then a walking path, and then an easement before reaching the home, starting at a finished floor elevation of 10 feet higher. And we voiced our disagreement with the Planning Commission back in October of 22. Our biggest concern is that by elevating the pad and creating what is basically a drainage channel between our block walls and the new pad, you've put our homes in danger of flooding. My husband has calculated approximately 7,400,000 gallons of water in an hour at 3 inches of rain based on the size of the Explore community. And it's all going to flow down the center and the sides to the back of the parcel because there isn't any other catch basin. It'll all travel along drainage and that back path, which is basically their catch canal. And by doing so, putting all of us in danger of mudslides, erosion, compromising the footings, and flooding our backyards and homes. There could be a height of 2 to 3 feet of water in that drainage canal that would run along and would knock down block walls and will penetrate into our yards. How is it possible that this is approved? In whose head did this make sense? How is it possible that we're being put in jeopardy, this entire community in jeopardy, neglecting us, discriminating against us, and putting us in this situation? Who approves of this? How is it possible that they can create this mountain behind us and suddenly we go from being at the top of the hill, everything flowed down to Gerald Ford except for a dune, but removing all that sand was going to cost a lot of money, so it was much more convenient just to shift it around, use up every darn square inch of that property and not even create a catch basin. Why is it that our community, which is a third the size of Explore, has a huge catch basin with an area of over 22,000 square feet, and they have none. How is it possible that you're permitting them to get away with not putting an adequate catch basin to protect all the homes in this area? We already saw what happened in Spanish Walk when sufficient drainage and catch basins were not put in place. Who's responsible for that huge mistake? What's going to happen in the next door? We don't want to be another Spanish Walk. You have to defend us. You were elected to protect the citizens, and that's us. You cannot put our future, our homes, nor our lives in danger. So this needs to be investigated. This needs to be corrected. We cannot be put in danger through ignorance or incompetence or greed. Whatever is causing this, it's not right. You cannot choose them over us. I believe in the right to develop, but it has to be done correctly. It has to be done safely. It has to be done considering everybody that's already here who chose you
Thank
all
you very
to
much.
defend
Your
us.
3 minutes are up.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
No other public comment, Madam Mayor?
Thank you very much. At this point, I think it would be opportune to take a 10-minute break. It is 5:25. We will resume at 5:35. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. It is 5:36. We will be resuming our meeting with item number 9, approval of the city council consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one motion. The public may comment on any of the items on the consent agenda within the 3-minute time limit. Individual items may be removed by the city council for a separate discussion. Do we have any speakers on any of the items?
I believe you have one speaker card for item 9S.
There we go, 9S, thank you. Are there any items that my colleagues would like to poll, or can I entertain a motion to move the balance?
If we take the comment first, we can perhaps move the entirety.
That is an excellent suggestion. Item 9S, Manny Mendez.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Manny Mendez. I'm the Regional Manager for Liberty Landscaping. We presently do the item that's out for bid. We do the housing. We really have enjoyed working with the residents, the managers in the city on this project. We've been on it for 10 years. And prior to that, we were on it for another 10 years. So it was based on the point system. I did present at the Housing Commission. We had a couple concerns. They came in $45,000 above our bid. And again, we've been doing it for the last 10 years. And that's a 12% increase on just the pricing. Also a big item is there's a point system, and it's also based on experience and let me just get my notes real quick. Proposal experience and performance. So I'm not sure how they're going to grade higher than we are in experience and performance. I mean, we've never been written up for any of the service we've done there. We've never had any issues. You can look it up, the commission. I did that with any of the tenants. We enjoy working with the seniors. There's quite a few communities that have a lot of seniors. There's a total of 17 communities, and we've really enjoyed working with it, and we would hate to lose the contract based on those criteria. So I was hoping you would take that in consideration. The commission did take that in consideration, and they rejected accepting Excel. So I really don't, I appreciate your time, and I just wanted to voice our appreciation. We enjoy doing the contract, and we enjoy working with the people. And we thought there has to be a little bit more of a reason why they're planning on us not being on there. And I extend those two items that I mentioned to you. That's 55% of the voting. So again, there's other items, and I can understand why some landscape companies would fall higher on some items than the others, but just based on performance and experience, and we've been there for 20 years, I think it's going to be hard for somebody else to beat that in the pricing. If we're 12%, $45,000 below their price, tells us that, we just want you to consider that and make a fair assessment. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Do we have any staff information on the selection?
I'll defer to Randy Chavez.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Council members, Randy Chavez, Deputy Director of Public Works. Liberty Landscape, I just want to make it known that their contract is expiring. They have performed satisfactorily during their time. However, staff, per the Public Works Code, we have to solicit proposals. We did receive proposals, and we review those proposals objectively and fairly. And this gives other contractors an opportunity to submit a pretty objective proposal. And in this case, the panel decided to award to Excel, or recommend to award to Excel Landscape. Again, this keeps all the vendors. It is a competitive market, and several vendors have told us that they appreciate what we're doing because they know that they at least have a shot to get awarded a project. It's not really it's leaning towards one vendor or another. We grade them objectively and fairly, and that's what the panel, how the panel decided to recommend this time around to Excel Landscape.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Any comments, questions?
Mr. Chavez, if I'm recalling correctly, the staff report also points out some positive experiences staff has had with Excel that contributed to your impression. Could you speak to that?
Yes, they submitted a concise work plan and the methods of how they're going to accomplish the work at the Housing Authority. So that the panel scored them favorably just by their means and methods of what they produced to the panel. Want to make a note, Excel has performed work for the city in the past. However, their contract has also termed out, and we did the same process and awarded to another vendor. So this is something that occurs on a yearly or bi-yearly basis, depending on when the contracts expire. We treat everyone the same. We have no favorites. And again, in this instance, Excel just submitted a better proposal.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Yes.
So Randy, it probably is in the report, I apologize, but what is the term or length of this contract?
It's a 3-year with 2 one-year extensions, so 5 years total.
Okay. So theoretically, in 3 years, we'll go out for request for proposal again.
Yeah, and if theoretically, if Excel does not perform or any vendor does not perform, we have the right to terminate contracts with the contract within 30 days. So it could be sooner than that. But it's going with a proposal-based form of receiving quotes or estimates. It's given us better vendors. It's given us better quality of work and whatnot. So we see that this is a more effective way of doing business.
Thank you.
I'll move the consent calendar, including this item.
I'll second the motion.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item number 10, the action calendar. The public may comment on individual action items within the 3-minute time limit. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. Item 10A, request for direction on the dining deck program and El Paseo improvement schedule and establish a license agreement for use of the right-of-way.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Eric Seha, Director for Economic Development. Give me a minute here while we get the PowerPoint loaded. All right, today we are looking for direction on the dining deck program as well as the El Paseo improvements that are envisioned to commence later this summer. Next slide. Some recent history in the dining deck program. We did come to the City Council in November where the City Council did take action to extend that dining deck program in alignment with the state until 2026. At that time, we also looked at the existing temporary use permits, which were going to expire in 2024, and a new requirement was put in place to have those temporary use permits reapplied for and extended based on some new design guidelines that were also put in place in November. In April, we hosted a City Council study session to review the dining deck program again and discuss a new licensing agreement. It would be based on the square footages of the lease rates, essentially for use of the public right-of-way. We also discussed the El Paseo Street project itself, and then looked at, because of that El Paseo improvement project that needed to be completed, it would have required dining decks to be removed by June 30th of this year. Also in the month of April, we started to engage those dining deck operators and presented those that were the items that were presented in that study session and to begin to receive feedback and input. And the initial reactions from those operators, they were not in favor of the El Paseo rehabilitation project moving forward at this time because of the requirement to remove their decks and then also the short notice for them to have to remove that by June 30th. So the next month, we followed up here in May with all those operators to solicit additional feedback and get additional input and discuss the licensing agreement methodology that we were discussing with them at the previous meeting, and also discuss timing of the El Paseo project. Next slide. Some of the feedback that we received, really all the dining deck operators are looking to extend the use of their dining deck for as long as possible. And given that one of the requests was to extend it at least for the full 2 years. In trying to find compromises, we've been looking at extending it for 1 year and allow dining deck operators to recoup some of those costs and start to budget for the eventual demolition or storage of those dining decks. We have also looked at the licensing agreement methodology and heard comments related to that use. Many have stated that, hey, these dining decks are not used for a period of time throughout the year through various weather events or just the heat. And most operators themselves have recognized that their landlords no longer charge them for non-enclosed building space or patio space. So in looking at the table that you see here, staff had really looked at a blended market rate, looking at what this per square footage fee annually is for El Paseo, San Pablo, Highway 111, and coming up with that blended average rate, and then looking at a way to discount that. We had originally looked at even discounting that by 50%, but based on some of the feedback we've heard from the operators, staff's recommendation proposal tonight is to discount those license agreement use right-of-way use fees by 25%, essentially $7 per square foot annually. We would have to go out, work with those dining deck operators, measure the decks, and put this new licensing agreement in place. And then for operators that can show that they are below this 2831 blended lease rate, there could be a relief program put in place where we would discount that by 25% as well. In order to establish this licensing agreement, though, we would need to have to come back to City Council to adopt a new resolution to establish these rates. Next slide. For the El Paseo Improvement Project, which is slated to begin later this summer, it essentially extends from Highway 111 to Highway 74, and it includes those listed improvements there. Right now, we're looking at an estimated project cost of over $3 million, but it is to revamp that whole street corridor. In looking at the proposed improvements for the project, staff has really looked at now breaking this project into 2 phases over 2 consecutive summers, with work that would be concluded by September 30th to avoid going too far into season and making sure the street is available starting in October for events. You can see in that first phase, it's really the sidewalk repairs, ADA improvements, drainage. It's a lot of that hardscape that is not in the road right away, which would not require the removal of those dining decks. And then in the summer of 2025, we would come back, remove all the asphalt, including the existing mid-block crossings, and then redo the asphalt and install the existing mid-block crossings that are there now, and then 2 new additional mid-block crossings closer to the west side of El Paseo. And so today we're here looking for direction to gauge council's reaction to dividing up this El Paseo project and postponing some of those mid-block crossings that are improved for the west side of El Paseo. Looking for your direction on how to enforce those design and safety standards, and direction on the licensing agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Ceja.
I have 2 questions. To what extent have the guidelines adopted November of last year been implemented?
Councilmember Kelly, for the record, Nick Maloney with the Planning Division. In summary, the amended dining deck guidelines that were adopted back in November implemented a number of items, which include addition of K-rails as the primary safety mechanism for the dining decks, as well as specific implementation of insurance, quarterly updates, and an amendment to the temporary use permit application. They did go into effect partially in January 1st. What staff has implemented are the safety inspections that occurred in February and found that there were no significant safety issues with the existing decks. We've also collected updated insurance from the operators, and we have also began enforcement of the storage element to prohibit storage on the dining decks. That is the extent that has been implemented, because these are operating under existing temporary use permits, which would expire at the end of June. From that point forward, we would be able to further implement we extend the guidelines.
You're saying upon issuance of a new temporary use permit, further implementation would occur.
Yes.
And my second question is, do we have any idea when ABC is likely to speak to the long-term viability of this arrangement?
Although they've already extended it to June of 2026, we do not know when they'll make decisions to either let that lapse or expire or extend that program further.
Thank you.
I would just like to, although we're probably still on questions, it was more of a comment.
Any questions before the comment?
Okay, I have a couple questions, and I know we extended the dining deck program through June 30th, 2026. And I'm to coincide with what we think will be the ABC decision. Do we feel the K-rails are sufficient safety-wise?
I know that the city has consulted with Cal JPIA, and that is one of their recommendations for kind of a best practice and for the cities.
Okay, thank you. I have another question as well. As far as I understand.
Could we just follow up on that?
Oh, go.
I'm left confused. Is the current state of affairs compliant with JPIA's recommendation or not?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Thank you. So, and I'm going to need some help with this, I think, but my understanding is the prohibition that the ABC had was taking alcohol across a sidewalk. So if we look at the fix specifically, the way they have redesigned it, there's no alcohol that would go across a sidewalk. Is it, if it's in the right of way, or is it going across the sidewalk? What?
It's in the right of way, and the fixes patio is still in the public right of way.
So they still could be, they could have that revoked from them because their patio is in the right of way.
That's correct.
So there's nothing that is sure after June of 2026.
Correct.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Comment? Yeah.
So following up on that, my comments are, we really can't predict the future, but we do know there come 2026, we will know more. And so right now, we're just giving these restaurants with dining deck a little more time. But, any money or funds they put in to the dining decks could be money lost. So that does weigh on my decision of what we do now. And it brings up another topic, but I'll be very brief. A few years ago, we studied the Gibbs study on reinventing El Paseo, and that still looms out there for not maybe this council, but future councils to reimagine El Paseo that may or may not have dining decks as they stand today. So something for us to think about.
May I?
Yes, please.
All right. First, thank you to staff for doing an excellent job of engaging with those affected. And thank you for your proposal to stage the essential work that has to be done. I welcome that staging approach. And as I understand it, that would result in the current dining decks being able to continue to operate for an additional 1 year before it really becomes essential to tackle the asphalt pavement rehabilitation. And that changes the picture substantially. If they just have 1 year, not through 2026, before they have to pick up the structures, it strikes me that it makes most sense to extend the current TUPs rather than trying to fashion the terms of a new arrangement. During this 1 year extension, it does not strike me as the right time to create a license agreement with a cost. We know that restaurants are particularly stressed by increased overhead costs. We want them to invest sufficiently to keep these decks attractive and safe. So it would not be in the city's or the public's interest to impose a cost which could, in essence, be an impediment to spending money so as to keep them attractive and safe. I know some people perceive this to be a gift of public space, but the utilization of the public space doesn't only inure to the benefit of the restaurants. It contributes to the vibrancy of the street. It attracts patrons to the street who may not only dine, but once they're there, may also shop. So just like we make other public investments for the beautification of the street that are intended to maximize business for all of the retail as well as the restaurants on the street. I think this arrangement can be similarly understood. My suggestion to my colleagues is that we endorse staff's proposal for the 2-year program for addressing essential maintenance, and that we direct staff to extend the current TUPs for 1 year, continuing to monitor compliance with essential safety rules, but that we hold off on imposition of any license agreement fees.
Thank you. My question is, in terms of allowing the opportunity for folks on El Paseo to utilize the public right-of-way and the improvements, has the opportunity for retailers and vendors to use some of that space been considered? Could a clothing store or a jewelry store decide that they would be able to display their wares along the same area where parking spaces are already being taken up?
That has not been explored.
That has not been explored. Okay. So what we're saying is that this whole time that the discussion was for a temporary process during the pandemic where the language has consistently said this is temporary. And here's an extension on something temporary with a temporary use permit. I think that we are not upholding our definition of temporary. I think that we need to understand that all of the retailers are also struggling to find people to work there. Our retailers are also experiencing the same cost of inflation. And I'm looking at all of the elements combined, but I don't feel that the city has acted with equity in regards to how public resources are being used. So as Councilmember Kelly mentioned, that it is perceived as a gift. For now, as we look at the options, they would be paying to use it. But I do think it has been the opportunity for the restaurateurs to increase their revenue using public property. When we improve our roads throughout the city, it's not like we're going into a shopping center or working on their parking lot, because that then benefits a private property. It benefits a private developer. And I think this is an entirely different scenario where we need to honor our own word of things being temporary if we're not being equitable.
Thank you. As a general, what was tried and true principle, or the way I view our job here as stewards of the public funds and trust, is indeed, for the last few years, these restaurants have been given a gift of taxpayer space. And I look at it a little bit like the street vacation that we addressed a few weeks ago, where, you know, there's really no market value for that, giving up that piece of property, that landowner. However, in other words, we couldn't put on the open market and generate money. Most likely, however, was a huge benefit potentially to the homeowner, would have benefited and possibly built another structure on their property. And that comes, you know, at the expense of taxpayers. So if I'm hearing Mayor Kelly, sorry, when I was elected, you were mayor, and I just stuck in my head. Councilmember Kelly, are you suggesting that we would basically extend this till May or June of 2026 with to be concurrent with the ABC decision, and in so doing would also put off the paving project until 2026?
No, I was suggesting extending for a single year to get to match staff's recommendation for street maintenance.
Okay, I understand. Okay, because, you know, with, I think the suggestion that staff came up with, and I really appreciate all the work, it does put a burden on a couple of other players in the city. I believe with paving or construction costs going up, by putting off our repaving project by 1 year, by and large, I think the odds are pretty good we're going to be paying more for this paving project unless we've somehow locked it in. I defer to Todd or somebody else for that. So that's a big concession that we're giving these restaurateurs. The crosswalk project is going to be put off again for another year, that retailers and other purveyors on El Paseo are clamoring for. So that's a huge concession to these restaurateurs. I know that charging them 25% for this public space is not going to break our city budget if we give it away for free or collect this money. To me, it's more a matter of principle that we're not giving away a taxpayer space. And so I do agree with the mayor that it isn't fair to other business owners in the city to allow restaurateurs to use public space, other retailers not. So however, I will put one caveat. I love the vibrancy and the energy that these outdoor dining decks bring. I think it's brought a whole new energy to El Paseo. I'm all for them. I love them. I just would like to see the restaurateurs pay. And that's all. Thank you.
I have a quick question. I just want to be sure I got this right. When we talk in the last column, the annual lease blended rate of 25%, that number is for the entire year. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple statements. It's unfortunate we have a slew of emails from people who were unnecessarily upset by being misinformed that the city was doing away with the dining decks. That was never the case. And unfortunately, there were many people upset. Now, in all these emails we have, some say get rid of them, some say keep them. There's different opinions. When we talk about giving away taxpayer dollars, when COVID hit, we gave away millions. We gave them to restaurateurs. We gave them to retailers. We gave them to all sorts of businesses, to homeowners, to people who needed to stay in their home, and people who needed to keep food on their table. So we do give away tax dollars sometimes, because we do that to make sure that our community is healthy and safe and is able to maintain a quality of living that is at least satisfactory. And during COVID, that was tough, but we managed. We had been talking about putting dining decks on El Paseo for years. COVID accelerated the process. So now we have something because COVID accelerated it. It's not that this came up because of COVID. It only hastened the projects. So when we talk about redoing, we know we have to do rehabilitation on our roads on El Paseo, and we're splitting it into 2 projects. So we'd be doing some this June, this summer, is that accurate? And then we would do the raised crosswalks. We'd have to completely redo the ones that are currently there, and then we'd add the 2 between San Pablo and 74. So we're still maintaining the pavement condition index, which is important, and we need to do it. So I look at this as something that if we charge the 25%, the blended rate of 25% for this next year, when it's going to get difficult is we're going to ask our restaurateurs to pick up their decks in June of next year. We're doing the right thing, I believe, by delaying it for a year, but now they have to decide, do they put them back down? Because what is the ABC going to say a year later? So this is a really difficult decision we're making. It's not so easy as, well, we'll give them a little bit of time. It's a little bit more difficult than that. I would recommend that we split, as suggested, the project into 2 phases. We charge the blended rate of 25% because keep in mind that yes, we helped all of our businesses, but it also cost staff time to check on the K-rails, to make sure that they're maintaining and they're complying with the standards that are put in place. So we do have to pay. There is a nexus there and we have to pay for that. So that would be my recommendation, is to charge the 25% blended rate and to go along with what the staff has recommended. Thank you.
I am looking at all of the discussions since I was running for office, since I've been on council, lots of conversations on how to reimagine El Paseo, how to engage people, how to have them walking, how to keep them later. I think that if we're going to create the opportunity, regardless of the burden or not, again, people knew that they were buying into a program that was temporary. That would be like leasing a vehicle and then noticing at the end that you didn't buy the vehicle, you were leasing it. It has been made transparent the whole time that this has been temporary. I think that as we move forward, should we continue this program, we need to open up this opportunity to retailers. That would allow that while people are dining and having their drink, their margaritas that they want to walk off before they decide to drive home, they could go and wander around and shop. Right now, this could be an opportunity to allow some vibrancy. I think that, yes, we gave money to a lot of different folks because this wasn't necessarily all money from the city of Palm Desert. We knew that there was different relief that became available. So it's not like the city took a huge, gigantic loss. We gave away forgivable loans, yes, but so did many other cities. We are not unlike different cities that have taken care of our residents, of our businesses, but this opportunity needs to be more equitable. Just as I had asked in the past if these opportunities were going to be available outside of El Paseo, and we have, I think, Skips, Little Bar, and we have Mi Cultura. Those are in a private parking lot. That's very different. I think that there should be a differentiated price structure for those that are using any Palm Desert resources, including our street. I think it should be the blended rate will work fine for those that are on El Paseo as discussed, but we need to look at a different rate for people that are not using any Palm Desert street. And we need to have this open to retailers as well, especially if it's only temporary until 26.
Yeah, let me suggest that we break this into two decisions. Because I hear a clear majority supporting endorsement of staff's proposed two-year plan for maintenance and extension of the TUPs for a year until it becomes necessary to do the asphalt pavement rehabilitation. It's not unanimous, but I think I hear a clear majority. So I'm going to move those two things, and then we can separately discuss the issue of the license agreement and potential fee. So what I'm moving to start with is that we endorse staff's proposed two-year plan and extend the TUPs 1 year.
I would second that motion, if that was a motion.
Yes.
Do we have any comments on the matter?
No public comments, Madam Mayor.
I think we did that.
If you'd like to take.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What?
He does need to submit a comment card. The only comment card we
No,
have
we
here for
don't
10 days.
take public comment in the middle of council discussion.
I believe it is up to the discretion of the mayor to include additional public comment. Is
It-
that not part of our
it's
discussion?
Inviting public comment in the middle of council discussion turns this into a free-for-all.
It is not a free-for-all. It is one person wishing to make a comment.
It's
I
a highly-
encourage you, if you could please send a
highly
comment.
irregular.
I am agreeing with you. I am moving that to the side and I'm encouraging to please send it via email. I just know this is a contentious issue and because of how many emails we had with people with erroneous information, again, one person, it's not like we had every single person that was here for that. I've seen unique circumstances that this council has taken that were not necessarily quite favorable. So this is a unique situation. So if we can have the vote, we have a motion and a second.
Mayor Quintanilla, if you
Oh,
could please
did it
lock it.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion passes 5-0.
Proceeding to item 10B.
No,
request
we
for-
aren't done.
Okay, we just voted on that, right?
Oh.
It passed.
It was a separated vote. The next issue was the.
My understanding from what was said is that this was to advance both of them. It's.
No, I suggested separating the issue of the license agreement and the potential fee so that could be, since there was less agreement on that issue. So that remains to be addressed.
So proceed.
So you have not spoken to that.
Well, I was going to support staff's recommendation on the 25% fee. And then Mayor Quintanilla was talking about opening this up to retail and others, and perhaps that would be in the future, but not at this meeting.
Yeah, we don't have any expression of interest in turning El Paseo into a street fair. So
I was
that's
just
not
saying
before us.
that could be another meeting and agendized to discuss her suggestion.
For the time being, I'm in the minority on the fee issue, so someone else should make the motion.
I will move that we put in place an annual lease blended rate of 25%.
I will second.
Oh,
Motion passes 3-2 with Councilmember Kelly and Mayor Quintanilla voting no.
Thank you. Item 10B, the request for direction on project CST 00002 Walk and Roll Palm Desert Phase 3.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Lucero. I am a Senior Project Manager with the Capital Projects Department, and I am here before you to talk to you about the Walk and Roll Phase 3 improvements that we are trying to implement throughout the city. So just a reminder, this is a map of what is highlighted for these improvements. And again, this is sidewalk improvements. The project description is addition of sidewalks throughout this portion of the city. We had an engineering consultant go through and catalog and take note of what sidewalks were where and where we had some gaps. And these were the gaps that were identified as priority for us to do these improvements on first. The improvements also do have crosswalks, curb ramps associated with the addition of the sidewalks. And then just as a general idea as to why we are doing this, the map before you kind of shows what's happening throughout this section of the city. We will have, like on De Anza, on that corner, you'll have the paved sidewalk. And then as you keep going towards San Pascual, it will just stop. And then you'll have to keep going all further north, and then eventually does pick up. And that's kind of ongoing throughout these areas. Same thing, if you're on De Anza, on that corner, keep going towards Portola, you won't get any more sidewalk until you're on Portola. And so this is why we're trying to implement the sidewalks, because we just don't have them there. We do want to improve that connectivity for people who are pedestrians, people, families, everyone, anyone that would want to and needs to use the sidewalk to get around the part of the city. Again, give those facilities so they can do it safely. Just as a kind of overall broad summary of the alternative options we have available is alternative A, alternative B. In general, not all streets have them. However, for the streets that do, the decision is to make those sidewalk improvements towards the right of way, which for most of these people would be into their landscaping, and or make the alternative B, which is making the sidewalk improvements towards the street, which would by its very nature narrow the street and or possibly remove on-street parking. So that's kind of the general split difference between alternative A and alternative B. The chart that you see before you kind of gives more of a high level detailed breakdown of what that means for these streets that have been identified. And again, it's Fairhaven, San Juan Drive, San Pascual, Catalina Way, De Anza Way, and San Gorgonio Way. And kind of a breakdown again of the impacts associated with each one of these streets and the alternative A and B options for the ones that have it as an option, because again, not all of them do. We did go ahead and host some community meeting outreach with the public to kind of give them a general idea of what we're trying to implement and get a feel for what is the preferred improvement either towards the right of way or towards the street so that we can be on the correct path before we get further along in design. And in doing so, we did go ahead and host at the ATP meeting, which was here at City Council, but the other 3 meetings were held on site. And letters were sent out to the residents that would be jointing up to those improvements because they are the ones directly affected by the addition of the sidewalk, and had them be aware of what we were trying to do and what time, and give them the options to give us their input on these improvements. We do estimate about 50+ residents came all together with between all the 4 meetings that we did held. So we do think we have decent input. General feedback for Fairhaven meeting was they do not want any sidewalks to be implemented on the San Juan Drive. They feel like it's not necessary, and they think that the city is best to have that money go towards other improvements in other parts of the city. And they were pretty adamant. Neither options were in favor for this group. They did express concerns for some speeding in that area, and I told them that we could consider adding some traffic calming measures or look at adding some signage or something that may help decrease some of the velocity that's happening in that area, or maybe even look at it from the city's perspective, what we could do to help that out. Jocelyn Center meeting, the majority that attended that meeting were in favor of the sidewalks altogether. They just expressed concern and a need to have us confirm that we would, if we implemented the sidewalks for the people that are affected with some of the residents that abut the improvements would be affected by having their block walls be removed. And so they just want to make sure that when we remove them, we would relocate it and place them again as a part of our improvements. And again, another common comment for this area was the speeding that's happening in this area. And then the last meeting was at San Pablo, and again, the majority approved the addition of the sidewalks. They feel like it is a good improvement and to explore and to implement in the area. There's a preference to keep the on-street parking because there's a lot of can't speak, apartments and things of that nature in that area. So on-street parking is very valuable to them. And they express, again, concern over speeding in this areas. Now, these are my recommendations. As a whole, I recommend going towards making these sidewalks improvements towards the street because they would limit the impacts to the people in the landscaping and or fences where it's possible. Again, not in all of these areas is this possible, but that would be the preference and the path that we would follow as a city, along with excluding the sidewalks on San Juan Drive. And then evaluating and implementing other traffic measures. They may help with the safety of the pedestrians on these streets that we're going to be adding. And that is really the gist of my presentation. I am open for any questions and or comments.
In terms of the residents from the San Juan area that didn't want the sidewalk, I know you said 60 people participated approximately. Were most of those from the San Juan area or?
No, at the San Juan meeting, we probably had anywhere from 12 to 20. It varied because we had more in the beginning and then they kind of fared off, but about a good 15 were at that meeting.
But you feel that was a good representation of the people that live along San Juan in general?
Yes, there's about 7 houses on San Juan Drive itself with 11 driveways that abut that improvement area. And they were a lot of those people were there.
Okay, I was just surprised why they wouldn't want it. But who am I to go against what they want?
Right. And Councilmember Kelly and I sit on the subcommittee, and we had a lot of the same comments that you just had. And after hearing the interaction you had with them and being able to review the street that we were discussing, it was clear why they felt that way and that the traffic calming is probably the best solution here. So there are no other comments. Are there more?
Just a quick question.
Oh.
We had this discussion in the subcommittee, but I want to make sure the proposed narrowing of streets for traffic calming does not amount to anything other than perhaps striping bike lanes. We're not talking about any major infrastructure changes.
So for some of these areas, the sidewalk, if it's implemented in the street, naturally
Apart
would.
from the side.
No, I don't believe so.
I want to hear a firm no.
Can you repeat the question for me?
You're not considering any infrastructure changes to narrow streets apart from the sidewalk work.
Correct.
Excellent. Because that investment would not make sense to me in an environment in which we're trying to prepare for multiple modalities. We don't want to give up space.
Right.
All right. With that, I'll move approval.
Second.
Madam Mayor, I don't recall, but you may have speaker cards and now
I
would be the
do.
appropriate
They
time.
just got a little ahead of themselves. First speaker, Lindsay Harris.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for letting us kind of express our opinion about this. We don't want sidewalks because we don't feel that it's really all that necessary in that area. There is one through road, Acacia. I don't know if you're familiar with our strange little neighborhood, but Acacia does have sidewalk for most of the length of Acacia between Parkview and Fred Waring. And that seems to be the major connection and a good connection if that's the purpose. There's no real advantage of pulling people in and around the corner and down the street and around the corner again to connect to that Parkview to Fred Waring connection. So that's our initial take on it. And we have a very safe street. We do have some problems with speeding at times. It's not a regular thing. It's mostly like the school buses. And a few visitors get stuck down there because we have barricades at the streets and people think they can get through and they can't. And so they spin out and they turn around and speed out. That's our major speeding problem. We just, as a neighborhood, we have a very active neighborhood watch program with lots of participants and a regular email group for our neighborhood watch. And we do pay attention to each other and for each other. And we have pretty much consensus. From what I've heard, nobody wants sidewalks in our neighborhood for any real reason, except potentially to connect the sidewalk from Parkview on Acacia. That would be the only recommendation we would
And
have.
you're speaking about San Juan.
San Juan, Fairhaven, Acacia, yes, yeah. That neighborhood is called Palmdale Estates, I think, but that's an old tract name. Thank you.
Well, you answered my question then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Joseph Scarna.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I live on San Juan Drive and there's actually 7 homes that would be impacted by this sidewalk project. The construction on that would be major. It would be a lot of property being taken away from these homes. My home in particular, I converted to desert landscaping by Hess of the Control of Valley Water. Everybody wants the grass out. I spent $32,000 on my yard and now I'm looking at a sidewalk that's going to drive itself right through it. And every neighbor has done about the same thing. Our yards are beautiful. Our street is wonderful. Most of the people living there have been there 35 years or more. Very few people have been there less than that. There's a very slight minority. We are happy with what we have. And we ask that I can appreciate the city of Palm Desert looking out and trying to give us a better life, enhance the city in certain ways. But I'm sure there are other neighborhoods that could use that money more than our neighborhood. And that has less, how can I put it, has fewer sidewalks that they can access. If there was to be if you wanted to connect from Parkview to Fred Waring, Acacia would be the way to go. It would be cheaper and it would make that connection and it's all done. And it wouldn't impact any homes in that plan. But primarily, we're all against it. I can speak for most everybody.
Just to be clear, we're not recommending that any work be done on San Juan except for perhaps signs to slow traffic or to have some traffic calming measure, but that's it.
Okay.
That's the recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Scarna. Lucia Lewis?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name's Lucia Lewis. I grew up on Catalina Way. We're one of the streets that do not unfortunately have a second option. And the home has been there over 50 years and I grew up there, 37 years there. And we never really had any accidents or problems. People do drive fast, which I feel at least, and I believe 3 or 4 other neighbors feel the same, that it could be accomplished with speed bumps. What I believe they want to do is Jocelyn Center is the senior center and it stops there. So they want to continue it from there down to Portola, which would be about 7 houses, I believe. And many of them are like my parents' home. They're with retaining walls that are brick, some 12 feet high, some 6 feet or 5 feet that go all the way around. They would lose a lot of property. It would be money to rebuild it for you. And for my parents in their 80s, I know they're not going to be able to do that. They live on a fixed income. They're not going to be able to rebuild a wall that's been there for 50 years. And that provides safety. They have a swimming pool. So our main concern is we understand safety. We understand making the streets and curb appeal. If it is going to happen, then we request to be reimbursed or the structures to be rebuilt to their natural standing. That would be the main request. And I know that a lot of the neighbors down the street feel the same way. We could do with the speed bump. I rode my bike there all my years growing up. I'm 46 now. I'm fine. A speed bump would be great, but if you have to do sidewalks, please reimburse us or rebuild our structures back to the original standing the way they were. That's it. Thank you so much.
Mayor, could we just bring staff back?
We have one final question, if we can, one comment. Dean Bricker, please.
Council Mayor, my area of concern is on San Pasqual between De Anza and Catalina. I have 2 pieces of property on there that really would be the most impacted by it, and I have mature landscaping and a rolling gate, and it'll be expensive to put it back together. I'm for alternative B, bringing it into the street, and which would narrow it and calm the traffic on that road. We see a lot of high-speed traffic that San Pasqual from Fred Waring linking up to, I guess that people are taking it up to Alessandro and, with that direction that goes, people fly through there and we're on the apex of that turn. Our 2 houses that we have there, we have 2 pieces of property there. And, it's dangerous pulling out of our driveway because people are flying around that corner, and maybe narrowing the street would calm that traffic, and you get your sidewalks, and then you calm the traffic. And that's all I would say. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any comments online?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Could we bring staff back for just a question for clarification? Do we understand correctly that the recommendation includes fully rehabilitating any landscaping or walls?
Yes, that is correct.
Go ahead.
Also, I've got the feeling through this presentation, I apologize if I misunderstood, that every single sidewalk addition was going to be in the street, not in people's property. Is that correct on all these projects? No, it's a mix?
It's a mix.
Aha, okay. So my apologies for that.
Street specific.
And then part two, we're not touching anything between Parkview and Fred Waring, west of Monterey.
The one recommendation is to continue with Fairhaven, up to where the barricade basically ends for that community. There is another community right by it where has, the majority of it already is sidewalked. We would just really add about a few feet more of it to connect people from that community down towards Fred Waring.
Okay.
So that is still part of the recommendation.
Thank you.
We did have a motion and a second.
I haven't finished my comments, so thank you for your patience. I have heard the comments. I see all of the different sides of it. My daughters had lived on Catalina for a little bit, and I can see, as someone who lives in a mobile home community where parking is premium, I can see that that's necessary. I can understand where there's no other place with the way the San Pablo is. It's not like anyone can go and find somewhere else to park. So to me, that's a very important thing that needs to be preserved. So that does make a lot of sense. And when you've got mature landscaping, again, that's something that would be difficult to take out, hold somewhere until things get resolved, and then hope that your landscape is okay when it gets put back in. So I hear these concerns, and they are very valid. They are very valid, including, if the city is offering help, but residents don't want it, we must respect that. And I believe that's already part of the staff report. So thank you for that. Thank you for creating sensible, easy to view in what could have been a very complex area, given the inconsistencies of where there is sidewalk and where there is not. So being able to incorporate the need for public safety and how it makes most sense to the people that live there, given that it's not a major speedway. I appreciate the time for everyone to have taken the time, and for staff. Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 10C, request for direction on the Palm Desert Community Gallery.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Amy Lawrence, Deputy Director of Economic Development. For the last 25 years, City Hall's North Wing lobby has served as a community art gallery to showcase local artists. During much of that time, the lobby saw substantial foot traffic as it was previously home to the Redevelopment Agency and Economic Development, and it currently serves as the city's visitor center. The community gallery closed in 2020 due to the pandemic and reopened for one show in August of 2023. And in November of last year, the historical timeline was wrapped on the walls and has remained up, serving as a resource for visitors coming in to get information about Palm Desert and the surrounding area. With the visitor center closing in July, moving over to the library, there'll be a substantial decrease in foot traffic to the building, which will only remain open to those visiting finance and housing departments. So given the substantial staff time it takes to maintain the gallery, including working with the Cultural Arts Committee to select the artists and scheduling and hanging 3 to 4 exhibitions annually, staff sees a benefit in discontinuing this project due to the lack of the daily foot traffic coming into the building. Additionally, the city's student art and essay contest, which is exhibited in that building for years, will be moving over to UCR Palm Desert Center starting next year because the award ceremony has outgrown City Hall, which is actually a good problem to have. So all that said, staff is seeking direction from the City Council to either continue operation of the community gallery, 2, cease operation of the gallery and keep the timeline up, 3, cease operation and place permanent artwork such as photographs of wildflowers or desert scenes, or 4, cease operation and place Desert Spirit sculpture by John Richin along with other permanent artwork. And just as a reminder, that is a sculpture that the City Council did accept donation of in July of 2022. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Comments?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I like option 2 for now. It truly feels like the wrap on the timeline just went up. And every time I walk through that space with people, it produces conversation. So I would say, let's leave that for now, and staff can reassess after a period of time.
I have a question because there's one inaccuracy on that timeline. Would it be possible to fix that?
We can certainly look into that. Yeah. I don't see why we couldn't fix that one inaccuracy.
Because it is interesting and it does create conversation.
Quick question, is options, I guess it's my turn. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Option 2, is that the only one in which the timeline stays up?
Yes, that it would be the only one in which the timeline stays up in that gallery, in that lobby, actually. I mean, the timeline could be posted somewhere else. I do have to say that the timeline was very expensive. It was part of the city's 50th anniversary project. So Palm Springs Life did pay for a majority of that project, but some of it did come out of our marketing fund. So it was, I want to say, if I had to pull a number out of the air, I think it was maybe $10,000 or $7,500.
I concur with Councilmember Kelly. I'd like option 2 for now.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks to staff, this is a whole lot of work, and I think people underestimate the time, work, and minutia required to deinstall or deaccess a piece of art. This is a whole lot of work. The amount of time it takes to select, curate, maintain, place all of the things that are there. It's not someone comes with Post-it notes that says, yeah, I think this is a good place to put it. In respect for all of the time and resources, especially to staff that is already very involved with all of the requests and ongoing changes that we're looking forward through the Cultural Arts Committee, I think it makes a lot of sense to cease the gallery. I agree it's a good problem to have that we will now require a larger space. And having seen the kinds of art that you see our cycles through there, I think it's a great place for it. I think that's a great place for it. So I concur that keeping the timeline as an interesting piece for people that are maybe waiting for someone that is in the finance department or whatnot, that would be something interesting for them to see instead of a revolving curated exhibit. So I think there seems to be some consensus here.
I'll move option 2.
Second.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item 10D, approve a 2-year extension of the Palm Desert Poet Laureate Agreement.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. I'm Erica Powell, Management Analyst from Economic Development. Today, I'm here to discuss an extension to the agreement to the city's current Poet Laureate, Lori Davis. As noted in the report, in March 2023, the City Council directed staff to work with Mayor Quintanilla and Mayor Pro Tem Harnick to develop a process of selection for a city poet. Following an extensive selection process, Lori was appointed as the city's first Poet Laureate for a 1-year term. Her term is from October 1st of 2023 to this September 30th. Ms. Davis has successfully fulfilled 6 of her duties outlined in her scope of work, showcasing her commitment and creativity in promoting poetry in our community, including selection of a junior poet laureate who she's currently mentoring, and organize a successful poetry workshop at the Palm Desert Library. Ms. Davis has proposed additional community programs as monthly workshops, open mic events, and youth programming. She has also proposed incorporating poetry into other city events and celebrating National Poetry Month. Given Ms. Davis's success in fulfilling her duties along with her innovative ideas for community engagement, staff recommends City Council approval of a 2-year extension to Ms. Davis's agreement in order to build consistency and continuity with the Poet Laureate program. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Erica, and I remember what a intensive process it was to narrow all of that down and the amazing work that she's done. Any questions?
I have a question. I think she's terrific, and may I make a motion to approve? That's my question.
Oh.
Second.
Do we have any comments?
No public comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Again, my gratitude to our poet laureate, who is the undertaking of having a junior poet really has elevated the ability to connect with a younger audience, with a younger and vibrant perspective of what Palm Desert is. I think that the way that she paints with words really elevates, once again, what we bring when we have these community events. I've been very impressed this whole entire time, from the first reading of her poems to watching the way that things have evolved. I think we have not only made a great selection the first time, but I think this was a very wise decision, and look forward to how her work is going to be incorporated into the library with workshops that I think we had discussed to keep engaging people, that reading and literacy mean different things to different people. So thank you to staff and to Lori. With that said, it is 6:47. This concludes our meeting. Be well, be safe, and I'll see you next time.